There comes a point in your journey where the noise fades, the crowd disappears, and you're left standing alone with nothing but your thoughts and your vision. That silence isn't loneliness, it's the sound of transformation. Greatness doesn't grow in comfort, and it doesn't thrive in company. It's born in the nights when you question yourself, when the world mocks your dreams, and when even your closest ones don't understand your hunger. People will call you obsessed, arrogant, or even crazy. But they can't see what you see. They haven't tasted the fire that burns inside you. Every legend you admire paid this same price, the isolation that breaks the weak but shapes the strong. When you walk this path, you learn to love the solitude because it's where clarity lives. It's in those quiet moments that your purpose gets louder than fear. Isolation isn't punishment. It's the universe testing if you're worthy of what you're asking for. So stop fearing the distance, embrace it. Every step you take alone is proof that you're becoming someone others will never understand, but everyone will remember. Greatness requires solitude and self-mastery. There's no other way around it. You can't rise above the world while staying buried in its noise. You can't find your truth when you're constantly surrounded by people who live comfortably inside their lies. The pursuit of greatness is not a group project. It's a lonely war fought within your own mind. You'll come to realize that most people are not meant to walk beside you. They don't have the hunger, the drive, or the resilience to understand your path. And that's okay. The solitude that once scared you becomes the silence that strengthens you. It's in isolation that you learn who you truly are, what you stand for, and what you're capable of enduring. Self-mastery doesn't begin when you're winning. It begins when everything feels like it's falling apart and you still keep moving. It's when your emotions scream for comfort, but your discipline whispers, keep going. Most people don't understand that greatness is not about talent or luck. It's about control. The control of your mind, your emotions, and your habits. When you master yourself, the world has no weapon against you. You become untouchable, not because life stops testing you, but because you stop breaking. Solitude exposes the truth. It removes the masks, the fake smiles, and the distractions. When you sit alone with your thoughts, you face your fears, your insecurities, and your weaknesses. That's when most people run. They escape through entertainment, relationships, and temporary pleasures because silence is uncomfortable. But that's exactly where transformation begins. The ones who dare to stay in that silence, to face their demons without flinching, become the ones who rise above everyone else. They build a relationship with pain, not as an enemy, but as a teacher. Pain becomes the compass pointing toward growth. When the world goes quiet, you hear the real battle, your own voice vs. your excuses. That's where self-mastery begins. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, every time you reject weakness and embrace struggle, you build a new layer of strength. You start realizing that you don't need validation, applause, or permission. You stop seeking approval because you understand that most people only praise results, not effort. But you're living in the process, not the performance. That's where greatness is forged. Solitude sharpens the mind. It clears the fog created by opinions, drama, and society's expectations. You stop reacting and start creating. You begin to hear your intuition louder than the noise of the world. And that intuition, when disciplined, becomes your most powerful weapon. You start trusting yourself more because you've proven you can survive without the crowd. That's self-mastery, when you no longer depend on motivation, because you've built systems that make you move even when you don't feel like it. Every early morning, every late night, every sacrifice becomes a silent promise to yourself that you refuse to live average. Greatness is not loud, it's disciplined. It's a man or woman sitting alone, putting in work when no one's watching while the rest of the world sleeps. It's the ability to delay gratification, to say no to easy pleasures, and yes to long-term purpose. Solitude gives you focus, and focus builds power. You can't hear your calling when you're surrounded by noise. You can't become who you're meant to be while clinging to who you were. The price of greatness will always be isolation because separation is necessary for elevation. You can't take everyone with you. Not everyone is built for the mountain you're climbing. Self-mastery means controlling not just what you do, but what you allow. It means saying no to distractions, toxic people, and even parts of yourself that want comfort more than success. The moment you decide to master yourself, you enter a battle against the weaker version of you, the lazy one, the fearful one, the undisciplined one. Every time you win that inner war, you rise higher. You start understanding that peace doesn't mean life gets easier. It means you get stronger. The storms don't stop, but you become unshakable. That's the power of solitude. It's not emptiness, it's empowerment. It's the furnace where you burn away the useless and refine what's valuable. The longer you stay committed to that process, the more unstoppable you become. People will start to notice the change. They'll see the confidence in your silence, the strength in your calm, the fire in your eyes. They won't understand it because they didn't see the nights you spent alone rebuilding yourself piece by piece. But that's what makes greatness sacred. It's built in private and revealed in public. Self-mastery isn't about perfection. It's about control. You can feel anger but choose peace. Feel fear but choose courage. Feel doubt but choose action. That's power. That's freedom. And that's what separates the great from the ordinary. Solitude will test you, but it will also introduce you to your higher self. The one that doesn't quit when things get hard, the one that thrives under pressure, the one that knows pain is temporary, but legacy is forever. Most people run from solitude because they're afraid of meeting that version of themselves. It demands too much responsibility. But if you can endure it, if you can master your thoughts, emotions, and focus, there's nothing this world can deny you. Because a person who has mastered themselves cannot be controlled by anything external. That's the ultimate power. Greatness requires solitude and self-mastery because without isolation, you can't build clarity, and without clarity, you can't build control. The world will tempt you to settle, to conform, to stay comfortable. But you must remind yourself, comfort is the coffin of ambition. When you feel lonely, remember you're not being abandoned, you're being refined. Every second spent alone in discipline is a seed planted in your future. One day, that seed will grow into a legacy so powerful that the same people who doubted you will speak your name with respect. That's the reward of solitude, not fame, not validation, but mastery. The kind that cannot be taken away. Isolation filters out distractions and reveals true strength. Most people fear being alone because they mistake silence for weakness. But silence is where your real power begins to awaken. When you are surrounded by noise, opinions, and constant chatter, your vision becomes blurred. The world throws 1,000 voices at you, each one trying to tell you who you should be, how you should live, and what you should want. But isolation removes that interference. It strips away the illusions and exposes the truth of who you are. When the crowd disappears, when the notifications stop, and when there's no one left to impress, you are forced to face the raw, unfiltered version of yourself. That moment is terrifying for some but liberating for others, because in that stillness, you start to hear something you've ignored for years. Your inner voice, your real instinct, your purpose whispering beneath the noise. True strength is not built when everything around you is easy and loud. It's built when everything is quiet and uncertain. Isolation becomes a mirror reflecting your discipline, your resilience, and your focus. You begin to see what distractions you were feeding on, validation from others, comparison, endless entertainment, temporary escapes. When those distractions fade, you feel a strange emptiness at first. But that emptiness is just space, space for growth, space for clarity, space for purpose. The people who can't stand being alone never discover who they are. They jump from one distraction to another, one comfort to another, because stillness exposes their weakness. But those who embrace isolation begin to understand that solitude isn't punishment, it's purification. It cleanses your mind from dependency, from external approval, from the constant need to be seen. When you learn to be comfortable alone, you become unstoppable among people. You stop chasing attention because you've already found peace within yourself. Isolation reveals who's strong enough to walk the path without applause. In that quiet space, you begin to rebuild your mind like a warrior sharpening his blade in darkness. You realize that focus is your weapon, and isolation is the forge where that weapon is crafted. Every distraction you remove, every temptation you resist, adds another layer of power to your mind. You stop reacting to everything around you and start choosing what deserves your energy. The weak are scattered, the strong are centered. Isolation is the ground where that center is built. When you're alone, there's no one to blame, no one to depend on, and no one to rescue you. It's just you and the truth. That's when you discover whether your dreams are real or just fantasies. Because if you can't keep working when no one is watching, you never truly wanted it. True strength is not measured by how you perform when people are cheering, but by how you perform when no one even knows you exist. That's why isolation is so powerful. It removes the performance and exposes the passion. It tests your commitment, your endurance, your belief. Every hour you spend alone mastering your craft, while others waste time seeking attention, becomes a deposit into your future greatness. You start to realize that isolation isn't empty, it's sacred. It's where ideas are born, habits are built, and legends are formed. It's where you stop being influenced and start being intentional. Most people crave company because they need distraction to avoid the confrontation with themselves. But if you can learn to sit alone and stay disciplined, you're already stronger than most. Isolation trains your mind to function under pressure without needing reassurance. It teaches you patience, the ability to stay focused on the mission without visible results. It reveals that success is not about motivation, but consistency. The world glorifies the noise, social media, opinions, trends, but the real masters of life operate in silence. They create, they grow, they prepare while everyone else scrolls, talks, and wastes energy trying to look successful. When you isolate yourself, you withdraw from the circus of comparison. You stop measuring your progress by someone else's highlight reel. You understand that the journey to greatness is not a race, it's a transformation. Isolation gives you perspective. It reminds you that time spent alone is never wasted when it's used to build yourself. It's the moment you disconnect from everything fake and reconnect with everything real. That's where true strength is found, not in the noise of approval, but in the quiet of self-discipline. You begin to move differently. You think before you act. You value your energy and protect your peace. You become more deliberate, more grounded, and more confident. You stop needing to explain yourself because your results will speak when the time is right. Isolation reveals how powerful you are without the world's validation. The longer you spend in solitude, the clearer your vision becomes. You begin to separate what's essential from what's irrelevant. You stop chasing 100 small things and start pursuing one great thing with full force. That's what makes the great ones so intimidating. They've learned to live without distraction, to operate without noise. Isolation is not a withdrawal from the world, it's a preparation for it. It's where you learn control over your time, your thoughts, and your emotions. The distractions of the world make you reactive. Isolation makes you intentional. When you return from solitude, you carry a different energy, calm, confident, unshakable. Because you've already faced the hardest battle yourself. You've learned that you don't need anyone to believe in you as long as you believe in your mission. That's the definition of true strength. In the end, isolation is the bridge between who you are and who you're meant to become. It strips you of weakness and dresses you in clarity. It removes the noise of the world so you can hear the roar of your own potential. Every great warrior, every visionary, every leader has walked through the valley of isolation. And when they came out, they were transformed, focused, disciplined, unstoppable. So don't fear being alone, fear being distracted. Because distractions destroy more dreams than failure ever will. Isolation doesn't weaken you, it refines you. It takes everything fake away until only strength remains. And once you've found that strength within yourself, no storm, no critic, and no obstacle can ever break you again. Critics and doubters are proof you're progressing. The moment you start moving towards something meaningful, the world will start to notice, and not everyone will celebrate you. Some will question you, others will mock you, and many will try to pull you back to the level they feel comfortable with. That's how you know you're growing. The presence of criticism doesn't mean you're failing. It means you've begun to stand out. Nobody attacks what's invisible. Nobody doubts someone who's standing still. The noise only begins when you start making noise of your own. Every insult, every judgment, every whisper behind your back is a signal that you've stepped beyond the line of mediocrity. The people who criticize you are not your enemies. They are confirmation that you're doing something right. Because when you stay average, the world stays silent. When you begin to rise, the silence turns into resistance. That resistance is the friction that sharpens your focus and fuels your fire. People doubt what they can't understand. When your mindset changes, your circle gets smaller and your goals become larger. Those still living in comfort zones start to feel uncomfortable around you. They'll project their fears onto you, telling you that you're unrealistic or that you're chasing something impossible. But their doubt is not your problem. It's their mirror. They see in you the reflection of what they could have been if they had the same courage. Doubters exist to test your belief, to challenge your commitment, and to strengthen your resolve. Every word they speak against you is an opportunity to prove them wrong, not with arguments, but with results. The day you stop being criticized is the day you've stopped making progress. Because the truth is, success threatens the insecure. Your ambition reminds them of their own lack of discipline. Your progress exposes their stagnation. Instead of taking responsibility, they choose to attack, but their negativity is fuel. Let their doubt echo in your mind until it becomes the rhythm that pushes you forward. Every person who has ever achieved greatness has walked through the valley of criticism. Every champion was once told they couldn't make it. Every innovator was once called crazy. Every dreamer was once laughed at. The world doubts you first and celebrates you later. That's the pattern. The stronger you become, the more resistance you attract. That's not something to fear. That's something to expect. It's part of the process. Critics are proof that you've begun to break limits that others couldn't. They remind you that your presence is disrupting something. Mediocrity loves company, and when you choose to step away from it, the crowd will always try to pull you back. They'll question your motives, your worth, and your direction, not because you're wrong, but because your courage exposes their comfort. The key is to never let their noise become your narrative. Let them talk, let them gossip, let them doubt. None of that changes the truth of who you are and what you're building. The more they talk, the quieter you become. You don't need to respond. Your results will do that for you. Silence is the language of power. When you're focused on your path, every insult becomes background music. You don't waste your energy defending yourself to people who wouldn't believe you even if you succeeded. You simply keep moving, keep building, keep evolving. Eventually, the same people who doubted you will watch in disbelief as your vision turns real. And when that happens, they'll rewrite their story. They'll say they always believed in you. But you'll remember who they were when you were still invisible. Criticism is the price of visibility. The more you shine, the more shadows you create. The world will always try to dim your light, not because it hates you, but because it fears what your light reveals. It reveals their excuses, their laziness, their lack of effort. So they'll try to cover it up with judgment. But understand this, greatness never seeks approval. You don't need validation from the crowd when your purpose comes from within. Your belief in yourself must be louder than their doubt. That's what separates the successful from the ordinary. The successful don't take criticism personally. They take it as a sign they're doing something that matters. If you ever feel surrounded by doubters, remember, you've moved beyond the crowd. Nobody criticizes the person behind them. The arrows are only shot at those who are ahead. That's what progress looks like: resistance, jealousy, misunderstanding. You can either let that stop you or let it shape you. Every insult can either break your confidence or build your armor. The choice is yours. The stronger your belief becomes, the less their words can touch you. You begin to understand that their doubt isn't a reflection of your weakness, but a revelation of your strength. It means you've reached a level where your movement is visible enough to be judged. It means your growth has begun to threaten the comfort of others. As you keep climbing, the noise will only grow louder, but so will your focus. You'll reach a point where you no longer feel the need to prove anything. You'll realize that greatness doesn't respond to critics. It outlasts them. Every person who laughed at you will eventually be forced to watch what they said couldn't be done. And when they do, they'll realize their doubt was never about you. It was about them. They were afraid that your success would expose the limits they accepted for themselves. So the next time someone doubts you, thank them silently. They've just confirmed that you're on the right track. Doubt is the shadow of progress. It only follows those moving forward. The ones doing nothing are never questioned. The ones making waves are always criticized. When you understand that, you stop resenting your critics and start appreciating them. They're not obstacles, they're indicators. They tell you you're evolving. They tell you you've become noticeable. They tell you you're walking a path that few have the courage to walk. Every great transformation attracts noise because change disturbs the comfortable. When you begin to rise, you challenge the natural order of mediocrity, and the world resists. But keep rising anyway. Let the noise fade behind you as you climb higher. True strength is proven not by silence around you, but by your ability to stay focused despite the noise. Critics and doubters will always exist, but they can't stop you unless you start believing them. So keep moving forward. Let their disbelief be your motivation, not your limitation. Because one day, your success will become the proof that they were wrong, and your resilience will become the story they can't ignore. Growth demands sacrifice, comfort, company, and validation. You cannot become someone extraordinary while clinging to everything that keeps you ordinary. Every step toward evolution costs something. To grow means to shed the layers of familiarity, to let go of what feels safe, and to walk willingly into uncertainty. It's the most painful, yet the most powerful process a person can endure. The reason most people never change is because they are not willing to give up the things that make them feel secure. They want progress without discomfort, achievement without isolation, and transformation without loss. But growth is never that gentle. It breaks you apart before it builds you anew. It demands that you trade ease for effort, approval for authenticity, and comfort for courage. Comfort is the first thing growth takes from you. It's impossible to expand while staying cozy inside the walls of convenience. Comfort is seductive. It whispers that you can stay where you are and still get where you want to go. But that's a lie. The moment you chase something bigger, your comfort zone becomes your cage. You'll feel the tension between who you are and who you're trying to become. Growth will push you to wake up earlier, work harder, and take risks that terrify you. It will pull you away from the familiar patterns that used to make you feel in control. You'll have nights where you question yourself, moments where you doubt if it's even worth it. But those are the very moments that shape you. True growth begins when you stop seeking what feels good and start pursuing what's right for your future. The second price growth demands is company. You cannot carry everyone with you to the next level. Some people are meant for a chapter, not the whole story. When you begin to change, the energy around you must change too. You'll notice certain people start to distance themselves, not because you did something wrong, but because your evolution makes them uncomfortable. You're no longer the same version of yourself they were used to. Your focus intimidates them, your discipline reminds them of their excuses, and your hunger exposes their complacency. And so, they fall away. Growth is a lonely road, not because the world abandons you, but because few are willing to walk through the fire of transformation with you. The higher you climb, the thinner the air becomes. You can't breathe deeply when you're carrying the weight of those who refuse to climb with you. Letting go isn't betrayal, it's survival. It's realizing that not everyone can handle your next level. The loneliness that comes with growth is not a curse, it's a filter. It separates those who only liked your comfort from those who believe in your potential. You'll have to walk away from certain conversations, environments, and relationships that drain your energy instead of fueling your mission. It hurts, but it's necessary. Every great transformation requires isolation. You can't hear your own calling if you're surrounded by voices that keep you small. And though it feels cold at first, solitude eventually becomes your strength. It teaches you self, reliance, focus, and emotional independence. You start realizing that you don't need company to feel complete, you need alignment. When you stop chasing people and start chasing purpose, the right ones naturally align with your path. The final sacrifice growth demands is validation. One of the hardest truths to accept is that not everyone will understand or appreciate your journey. In fact, most won't. You'll be doubted, criticized, and misunderstood. People will question your choices because they can't see your vision. They'll call you selfish for prioritizing your purpose over their expectations. But validation is a drug that keeps you trapped. As long as you need approval, you'll never truly be free. Growth demands that you learn to trust yourself even when no one else does. You must be willing to believe in your own potential louder than the world doubts it. That's what separates leaders from followers. Leaders move without applause. Validation feels good, but it's temporary. The approval of others changes with the wind. One day you're celebrated, the next day you're criticized. If your sense of worth depends on the opinions of others, you'll spend your whole life adjusting yourself to fit their comfort. Growth requires you to detach from that noise and operate from conviction instead of comparison. You stop asking, will they like this? And start asking, is this right for me? The moment you no longer need to be understood, you gain real power. Because now you're no longer living for the crowd, you're living for your calling. As you sacrifice comfort, company, and validation, you'll start to see the world differently. You'll begin to realize that growth isn't just about achieving more, it's about becoming more. It's about building strength where there was once weakness, discipline where there was once distraction, and faith where there was once fear. Every sacrifice refines you. Every moment of discomfort polishes your potential. Growth is a process of subtraction before addition. It removes what's not serving you to make space for what will. You'll lose parts of your old self, habits you once thought defined you, and people who once felt permanent. But that's the price of evolution. You can't step into the new while still clinging to the old. The truth is, growth doesn't ask for permission. It demands commitment. You don't get to decide how much it will cost. You only get to decide whether you're willing to pay it. Some nights it will feel unbearable. You'll want to go back to your comfort zone, to the familiar warmth of mediocrity. But if you push through, you'll come out stronger, clearer, and more resilient than ever before. Because growth rewards those who endure. It may take your comfort now, but it gives you confidence later. It may strip away company now, but it gives you alignment later. It may silence validation now, but it gives you self-respect later. When you look back, you'll realize every sacrifice was worth it. You'll see that comfort never built character, that company never guaranteed loyalty, and that validation never defined your worth. You'll understand that growth was never meant to be easy. It was meant to be transformative. So don't fear what you're losing. Be grateful for what you're becoming. The temporary pain of sacrifice is nothing compared to the permanent power of evolution. Growth will break you, stretch you, and isolate you, but it will also elevate you, empower you, and prepare you for everything you once dreamed of. That's the price of greatness, and only the brave are willing to pay it. Loneliness is not emptiness, it's preparation for destiny. In the beginning, it feels heavy. It feels like silence is pressing against your chest, like everyone else has found their place while you're still searching for yours. The world around you moves fast. People laughing, connecting, chasing pleasures. And there you are, alone with your thoughts, wondering if something's wrong with you. But nothing is wrong. In fact, everything is being made right. Loneliness is not a punishment, it's a process. It's the space where destiny quietly begins to take shape. When life separates you from the noise, from the constant pull of others, it's not because you've been forgotten, it's because you're being forged. Greatness is never built in crowds. Purpose doesn't grow in comfort. Every strong soul you admire once walked through the valley of loneliness and came out stronger, sharper, more focused. In loneliness, life starts to strip away everything that doesn't belong to your future. It removes distractions, it reveals illusions, and it forces you to face yourself. That's why it hurts so much. It's the death of who you were before the birth of who you're meant to become. Loneliness teaches you what no conversation can. It teaches you patience, endurance, and self-understanding. It forces you to stop depending on noise for validation and start relying on your own inner voice. That's where destiny starts to whisper, not in chaos, but in stillness. When you're alone, your heart becomes louder. You start hearing the truths you've been avoiding, the calling you've been suppressing, and the strength you never knew you had. People fear loneliness because it exposes what's real. When there's no one left to distract you, you begin to feel everything you've been running from: doubt, fear, regret, insecurity. But those emotions are not enemies, they're indicators. They show you where you still need healing, where you still need growth. Loneliness is like a mirror, unforgiving, but honest. It doesn't show you who you want to be, it shows you who you are. And until you confront that reflection, destiny cannot trust you with what's next. You have to become whole alone before you can handle the weight of your purpose. That's why some seasons feel isolating. It's not rejection, it's preparation. You're not being cut off, you're being cultivated. In solitude, your vision sharpens. You begin to see what truly matters. The opinions of others start to lose their power. You stop chasing attention and start chasing alignment. The crowd fades and clarity enters. You realize that destiny doesn't need noise, it needs focus. You can't hear divine direction when your life is filled with distractions. Loneliness becomes the training ground where focus is forged. It's where you learn to trust your instincts, to stand on your own, and to keep walking even when no one walks beside you. Every great destiny demands this stage, where you learn to be alone, but not lost, silent but not empty, waiting but not wasting. When you're lonely, it's easy to feel forgotten, but destiny never forgets. The universe is not punishing you, it's positioning you. You're being set apart for something greater. Sometimes separation is protection. The people who leave, the opportunities that fall through, the plans that collapse, all of it is part of the molding. You're being shaped to handle what's coming. You can't carry old habits, weak emotions, or shallow relationships into the next chapter of your life. Loneliness is the refining fire that burns away the unnecessary, so only strength remains. It's not the end of your story, it's the beginning of your becoming. There's a sacred beauty in solitude that few ever discover because most people rush to escape it. They fill the quiet with noise, the emptiness with distraction, and the distance with dependency. But those who choose to stay in the silence discover something priceless: self-awareness. They begin to understand their purpose on a deeper level. They no longer seek happiness from people or validation from success. They find peace in the process, joy in discipline, and power in patience. They realize that loneliness isn't a void, it's a vessel, one that carries them closer to destiny. Every moment spent alone is an investment in your future self. In that space, you build resilience. You learn how to think clearly, how to feel deeply, and how to act intentionally. Loneliness becomes your teacher, not your tormentor. It teaches you how to be whole without needing others to complete you. It teaches you how to be still and trust timing. Destiny requires that kind of strength, because when your purpose finally arrives, it will demand focus, discipline, and emotional control. You won't have time to seek approval or comfort. You'll need to be grounded, unshaken, self-led. That's why loneliness comes first. It builds the foundation destiny stands on. You may not see it now, but every lonely night, every quiet morning, every moment you thought was wasted is building something within you. The world doesn't see the transformation happening in silence, but one day they'll see the results. The person who walked through the storm alone emerges with a kind of confidence that cannot be taught. It can only be earned. You begin to glow differently because your light no longer depends on anyone else. You become your own source of peace, your own motivation, your own validation. That's when destiny begins to unfold, because destiny only trusts those who can stand alone. So if you find yourself in a season of isolation, don't curse it, embrace it. Use it. Sit with yourself. Learn who you are without the world's noise. Build strength where you once sought support. Build clarity where there was confusion. Build discipline where there was distraction. Loneliness is not your enemy. It's your initiation. It's preparing you for the weight of greatness, for the responsibility that comes with purpose. Because destiny doesn't choose the comfortable, it chooses the capable. And capability is born in solitude. One day, you'll look back and thank the loneliness. You'll see that it wasn't emptiness at all. It was divine preparation. The silence that once scared you will become the peace that sustains you. The solitude that once broke you will become the strength that defines you. You'll realize that every moment you spend alone wasn't wasted. It was sacred. It was the universe shaping you quietly away from the world's eyes. So when your time came, you'd be ready. Loneliness didn't take from you. It gave you everything you needed to become who you were meant to be. It was never emptiness. It was destiny in disguise, preparing you for the life only you were created to live.